It was a Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday that slips by unnoticed, blending into the fabric of everyday life. Just another ordinary evening on Elm Street, where nothing ever seemed out of place. The Miller house glowed warmly in the dusk, a picture of domestic peace and comfort. Its windows shining like beacons in the growing darkness. The scent of dinner lingered in the air. 3 plates sat on the table, Tom, Sarah, and their daughter Lily. Evidence of a meal shared and laughter exchanged. It looked as if they'd just stepped away for a moment, leaving behind the gentle chaos of family life. The television flickered in the living room, playing to no one, its glow casting shifting shadows on the walls. Everything was as it should be, until it wasn't. A subtle tension crept in, almost imperceptible at first. The Millers' nightly routine was comforting, Tom clearing plates, Sarah helping Lily get ready for bed, the rhythm of their lives steady and familiar. These small rituals stitched their days together, weaving a sense of safety and belonging. But on this Tuesday, the story would go unfinished. The night would not end as it always had. The goodnight kiss would never be given. The bedtime story would remain unread. The house waited in silence for a family that would never return, its rooms echoing with memories. Outside, the neighborhood settled in for the night, curtains drawn, lights off, the hum of suburbia masking the truth. No one heard a thing, not a single neighbor noticed anything amiss, no screams, no struggle, no screeching tires. The silence was absolute, as if the world itself was holding its breath. It would soon swallow a family whole, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt the town for years to come. The last normal night was over, marked only by the ticking of a clock and a fading photograph. And what came next was anything but. The darkness that followed would change everything. The Millers' home, once filled with laughter, would never feel the same. Its walls would remember. The world outside continued, unaware of the tragedy unfolding within, life moving forward as if nothing had changed. The peace of that night was a fragile illusion, shattered in an instant. In a single evening, everything changed. The ordinary became unrecognizable. The Miller house became a monument to what was lost, a silent witness to the unthinkable. The town would never forget the night normalcy vanished, nor the family that disappeared without a trace. And the silence that followed would echo for generations, a haunting reminder of the last normal night on Elm Street. The sun rose on Wednesday, casting a gentle glow over the neighborhood, painting Elm Street in gold, as if promising another ordinary day. But the Miller house was still, unnaturally so, as if time itself had paused there. The morning paper lay untouched on the step, its pages crisp and unread. Tom's car sat in the driveway, unmoved, dew still glistening on the windshield. Mrs. Gable, the Miller's neighbor, noticed the lights were still on, flickering faintly in the morning haze. Sarah was always careful about electricity, never one to waste a single watt. The unease grew as she saw the newspaper, still wrapped, untouched by human hands. Tom was always up early for the paper. Something was wrong, something she couldn't quite name. Mrs. Gable walked over, called their names, no answer, only the echo of her own voice. Only birds and the distant hum of the waking town replied, indifferent to her worry. She peered through the window and saw the dinner table. Plates of cold food, a scene frozen in time. The people were gone, as if they'd vanished mid-meal. Fear tightened in her stomach, a cold knot of dread forming. None of it made sense. The world outside was waking, but the Miller house remained silent. She backed away, mind racing, and dialed the police, her hands trembling. She didn't know what she was reporting, just a silence that felt wrong, a quiet that pressed in from all sides. That call would change everything. The mystery had begun, and the first ripple of fear spread through the neighborhood. The town's peace was shattered, replaced by whispers and worried glances. The Miller house became the center of a growing storm, drawing everyone's attention. No one could have predicted what would come next, or how deep the mystery would go. The silence was now impossible to ignore, echoing through every corner of Elm Street. Police arrived to find the Miller house exactly as described, quiet, orderly, and deeply unsettling. The neighborhood itself seemed to hold its breath, as if aware that something was terribly wrong behind those closed doors. The unlocked door led into a home frozen in time, every detail preserved as if the family had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. Every object told a story with the ending missing. Family photos smiled from the mantel, their subjects now inexplicably absent. Half-eaten meal, TV murmuring, Lily's teddy bear waiting on her pillow. The ordinary details made the scene even more haunting. Investigators searched for any sign, a struggle, a note, a clue. They moved carefully, hoping for something, anything, to explain the disappearance. Nothing. No overturned furniture, no broken glass, no blood. The house was untouched, as if time itself had stopped. The house was pristine, as if the family had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only silence and questions. Wallets, purses, cash, credit cards, all left behind. Nothing had been taken, nothing seemed out of place. Car keys on the hook, passports in a drawer, the essentials for travel, untouched and waiting. Everything needed to leave was untouched. It made no sense. There was no sign of hurried departure or panic. People don't just walk away from their lives without a trace. Shoes and coats remained, as if waiting for their owners to return. Forensic teams scoured every inch, attic to cellar. Every corner was examined, every shadow questioned. Only the Millers' fingerprints were found, no evidence of intruders, no sign of forced entry or struggle. The house yielded no secrets. Every room was as it should be, yet nothing was as it seemed. It was a perfect vacuum, a clean slate. The absence of evidence became its own kind of clue. The mystery only deepened with every hour. Time passed, but no answers came. The investigators were left with more questions than answers. Each theory unraveled as quickly as it formed. The Miller house became a puzzle with no pieces, a mystery that refused to be solved. The town watched, waiting for answers that never came. Whispers and rumors filled the void left by the missing family. The silence inside was deafening. It pressed in on everyone who entered, a constant reminder of what was lost. And the sense of unease grew, settling over Elm Street like a heavy fog, refusing to lift. News spread quickly. By lunchtime, everyone knew. The Millers, gone, it seemed impossible. They were the picture of normalcy. Tom, Sarah, Lily. The family was woven into the fabric of the town. Now they were simply gone. People gathered in small groups, whispering, searching for answers. Disbelief settled over the community. This didn't happen here. The disappearance felt like a violation. News crews arrived, reporters spoke of the baffling mystery. The Miller house became a landmark of sorrow. Neighbors drove by, hoping for a sign of life. But the house remained silent. Trust in the community began to fray. The Millers' absence was a constant, unnerving reminder. A shadow had fallen, and no one knew how to lift it. The police launched a massive search. Officers and volunteers combed the countryside, searching for any sign. Helicopters scanned from above, dive teams searched the lakes. The search area grew, desperation mounting. Investigators dug into the Millers' lives, interviewing everyone. Was there a secret, a hidden enemy, financial trouble? Every detail was scrutinized, but the Millers were exactly who they seemed. Happy, well-liked, no secrets, no debts, no disputes, no hidden life. Every lead was a dead end. The family's ordinary life was the biggest puzzle. The search continued, but hope faded. The landscape, like the house, offered no clues. The town's unity was tested. The mystery only deepened. The Millers' disappearance defied explanation. The searchers returned home empty-handed. The sense of loss grew heavier. With no facts, rumors flourished. Theories ranged from the plausible to the bizarre. Some believed the family ran away, maybe trouble no one knew about, but why leave everything behind? Others whispered of a crime, a home invasion gone wrong. Yet there was no sign of violence, no evidence of a struggle. The idea of a silent, perfect crime was chilling. Stranger theories emerged. UFOs, the supernatural, the house itself. These were born from desperation, a need for answers. The town was unsettled, logic failing them. Everyone became an amateur detective, but all the stories were just that, stories. The truth remained elusive. The mystery grew with every retelling. The town's fear deepened, and the silence persisted. Weeks became months, the seasons changed. The police tape came down, news vans left. The case file grew thin, leads dried up. The investigation lost momentum, the case declared cold. Inspector Davies, obsessed, pored over the files, searching for a missed clue. The answer always eluded him. The town moved on, but it was changed. The Miller house stood empty, a painful reminder. It became a local legend, a place of whispered dares. Years passed, new families arrived, but the memory lingered. On anniversaries, flowers appeared on the doorstep. The case remained open, but no new evidence surfaced. The silence of that night was never broken. The Millers became a cautionary tale. The town's innocence was lost. The mystery endured. The disappearance left a crater in the lives of those who knew the Millers. No funeral, no grave, just endless questions and flickering hope. Grief rippled through the community. Lily's empty desk at school became a silent memorial. The adults felt the loss, their sense of security shaken. The town's trust was replaced by caution. The mystery became part of their identity. Even decades later, the weight of absence lingered. The story was more than a mystery. It was a personal memory. The fear was unforgettable. The community held its breath, waiting for answers that never came. The true emptiness was in the hearts of those left behind. Today, years later, the house on Elm Street has changed hands many times. New families have lived there, but the ghost of the Millers lingers. The story is now local folklore, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable. The case remains unsolved, the file still open. New detectives revisit it, baffled by the perfect enigma. Technology has advanced, but the mystery endures. Mrs. Gable, now elderly, still glances at the house, half expecting to see the Millers return. Lily's childhood friends, now adults, warn their own children, shaped by the memory. The story is a stark reminder that some questions have no answers. The Millers left behind more than an unsolved case. They left a crack in the world's sense of order. On quiet nights, the echo of their absence can still be felt. The silence on Elm Street has never been filled. The Harrison family seemed perfectly ordinary. Tom, Sarah, and their two kids, Emily and Ben, living what most would call the American dream. Their home was filled with laughter, the walls echoing with the sounds of everyday life. Neighbors often saw them tending the garden or waving from the porch, always ready with a friendly smile. They lived on a quiet street in a friendly suburb, where everyone knew each other's names and children played safely until dusk. Their days were filled with school runs, football games, and community events. The Harrisons were active in the local PTA, and their weekends were often spent at neighborhood barbecues or cheering from the sidelines at soccer matches. But one crisp autumn morning, everything changed. Without warning, the Harrisons vanished. No note, no struggle, no trace left behind. Their disappearance wasn't just a missing persons case. It was as if they'd been erased from existence itself. The mail began to pile up, the garden grew wild, and the once busy home fell eerily silent. There were no signs of trouble, no family disputes, no financial problems, nothing to suggest anything was wrong. The house was untouched, as if the family had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. They had plans for the weekend, groceries in the fridge, and appointments on their calendars. Every detail of their lives suggested they intended to come back. Yet, overnight, the world kept spinning while the Harrisons' lives simply stopped. The lights in their home never came on again, and the laughter that once filled the air was gone. The house on Maple Drive still stands, a silent monument to the family that disappeared from within its walls. It's become a place of whispered stories and uneasy glances. For the community, it's a chilling reminder that sometimes the impossible happens. Neighbors still gather to discuss theories, but no one has answers. The story of the Harrisons challenges our understanding of reality. How could a family so rooted in their community simply vanish? How can a family be there one day and gone the next, without a single clue? Their belongings remain untouched, as if waiting for their return. This is the mystery that haunts Maple Drive to this day, a question that lingers in the minds of all who pass by that quiet, empty house. The first sign of trouble was subtle. Sarah didn't show up to teach her class, something that had never happened before in her years at the school. Her students waited, glancing at the clock, while the principal tried to reach her by phone, but there was no answer. Meanwhile, across town, Tom missed an important meeting at work. His colleagues exchanged puzzled looks, whispering about how uncharacteristic it was for him to be late. let alone absent without notice. Both Sarah and Tom were known for their reliability and dedication, so their simultaneous absence was immediately suspicious. Whispers of concern began to ripple through both the school and the office. Calls to the Harrison home went unanswered. Friends and family tried repeatedly, each ring echoing their growing unease. The family car sat in the driveway, the morning paper untouched on the doorstep, a small but telling detail that something was amiss. Neighbors noticed the house was unusually quiet. No laughter, no movement, not even the family dog barking at passers-by. By midday, concern turned to fear. A small group of neighbors gathered outside, exchanging anxious glances and debating what to do next. The police were called for a welfare check, their arrival breaking the uneasy stillness that had settled over the street. Officers arrived to find a picture-perfect suburban scene, neatly mowed lawn, a child's bike by the garage, no signs of disturbance. Everything looked as it should, yet something felt off. They knocked, called out, but only the wind replied. The house remained stubbornly silent, as if holding its breath. The silence inside was heavy, unnatural. It pressed in on the officers as they stepped through the doorway, amplifying every creak of the floorboards. It was the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, a void where the sounds of life should be. The air felt thick, as if the house itself was hiding a secret. The officers knew something was very wrong. Their instincts told them this was no ordinary absence. What they found inside would only deepen the mystery. Each room was untouched, as if the family had simply vanished in the middle of their routines. The Harrisons had vanished, leaving behind a home frozen in time. Breakfast dishes sat on the table, a television still glowing with the morning news. The ordinary had become extraordinary and terrifying. In a matter of hours, a peaceful neighborhood was transformed by a mystery that would haunt everyone who knew the Harrisons. Using a neighbor's spare key, police entered the house. Inside, everything was eerily normal. No signs of struggle, no panic. A half-finished chess game sat on the coffee table, reading glasses beside an open book. School bags were packed by the door, a jacket draped over the banister. It was as if the family had just stepped out for a moment. Officers searched every room, every closet, every corner. Nothing. No clues, no notes, no evidence of where they'd gone. The house was full of life's details, but empty of the people who lived them. It was like walking into a photograph, perfectly preserved, but lifeless. The most unsettling thing was the utter normalcy. Everything was in its place, yet the family was gone. The investigation had begun, but the house offered only questions. The Harrisons had vanished without a trace. Forensic teams scoured the living room, moving methodically from corner to corner, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Every cushion was in place, every surface undisturbed, as if the room had been frozen in time. Family photos smiled from the mantelpiece. Beach holidays, school uniforms, a wedding day. The images radiated warmth and togetherness, capturing moments of laughter and love. These snapshots told the story of a family that seemed happy, grounded, and utterly ordinary. The half-played chess game, the TV remote, the last channel set to a family movie, everything spoke of a quiet evening. It was the kind of scene you'd expect to find at the end of a long day, with the family winding down together, unaware of what was to come. No fingerprints but their own, no signs of a struggle. The surfaces were clean, untouched by any intruder. It was as if the house itself was guarding its secrets, refusing to give up even the smallest clue. Investigators searched for hidden clues but found only the mess of daily life, a sweet wrapper, a stray pen. These were the artifacts of routine, the kind of clutter that accumulates in any home, offering no answers, only questions. The room was too perfect, too normal. It was as if someone had gone out of their way to erase any hint of chaos, leaving behind a scene that felt almost staged, almost artificial in its orderliness. In most cases, investigators look for the one thing that doesn't fit. Here they found themselves searching for something, anything, that might break the spell of normalcy. Here, the anomaly was the lack of any anomaly. The absence of evidence became its own kind of evidence, a void that seemed to swallow every theory. The living room became the epicenter of the mystery, a place where normalcy itself was suspicious. Every detail, once comforting, now felt loaded with meaning, as if the truth was hiding in plain sight. The Harrisons' life was on display, but they were gone. Their presence lingered in every object, yet the people themselves had vanished without a trace. The perfection of the scene was more disturbing than any sign of violence. It was the kind of silence that made your skin crawl, the kind that suggested something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. It was as if the rules of reality had been quietly broken, leaving behind a portrait of normalcy that was anything but normal. In the kitchen, the sense of interruption was even stronger. Ingredients for packed lunches were laid out, a loaf of bread beside a jar of jam. On the table, 3 bowls of cereal sat untouched, milk turning the flakes soggy. It was breakfast prepared but never eaten. Forensics tested everything. No toxins, no drugs, just ordinary food. The dishwasher was full of clean dishes, dinner leftovers still on the stove. The kitchen was a snapshot of routine, frozen at the start of a day that never happened. The uneaten breakfast became the haunting symbol of the case. Everyone could relate to that morning ritual. Now it was a memorial to a family's last moments. The kitchen offered a timeline, but no answers. The Harrisons had simply vanished, leaving their lives unfinished. Upstairs, the evidence against a planned disappearance was overwhelming. Tom's wallet, Sarah's purse, keys, and phones, all left behind. Emily's phone was charging on her desk. Ben's school uniform laid out for the day. Laptops, tablets, gaming consoles. Nothing was missing, no bags packed, no clothes gone, passports in a drawer, car keys on a hook. The family had no means to leave, no money, no identification, no transport. Investigators cataloged every item, building a picture of what wasn't there. Any sign of preparation. The scene spoke of a quiet, inexplicable event. No violence, no haste, just absence. The family was surrounded by their possessions, and then they were not. The question wasn't just where they went, but how? The upstairs rooms echoed with unanswered questions. With the house offering no answers, the search spread across the town. Police and volunteers combed woods and parks. K-9 units searched for a scent. The trail went cold at the front door. No sign the family ever left. Detectives interviewed neighbors, colleagues, friends. No one saw or heard anything. The Harrisons' digital lives were examined. Emails, social media, bank records, all normal. Their car was in the driveway, untouched, with no unusual activity on the sat-nav. Every promising lead dissolved into nothing. The investigation became a process of elimination, ruling out every possibility. Theories about witness protection or secret debts were dismissed. The case was a blank canvas. No suspects, no motive, no evidence. The Harrisons had vanished into thin air, leaving only their ordinary life behind. The police were left with nothing but questions. The mystery deepened with every passing day. In the absence of evidence, theories flourished. Some imagined a planned escape, but the facts didn't fit. Wallets, phones, passports all left behind. Others whispered about murder-suicide, but there was no history, no note, no bodies. As logic failed, the bizarre took hold. Paranormal investigators, alien abduction, portals to another world. These wild ideas offered comfort to a community desperate for answers. For police, they were distractions. For the public, a way to fill the silence. None of the theories could be proven. Each was just a story, an attempt to explain the unexplainable. The case remained a collection of unanswered questions. The Harrisons' disappearance defied all sense. Years have passed since that autumn morning. The house on Maple Drive has new owners, but the memory of the Harrisons lingers. The case file sits in a cold case unit, thick with reports and dead ends. For investigators, it's the one mystery that haunts their careers. For the family's relatives, there's no closure, just endless questions and quiet grief. The fate of Tom, Sarah, Emily, and Ben remains unsolved. Did they run away? Were they taken? Or did they simply slip through the cracks of reality? We may never know. The uneaten breakfast remains a haunting symbol of the moment a family vanished. The story of the Harrisons is a puzzle with no solution, a reminder that sometimes the world is stranger than we can imagine. Maple Lane was the kind of street where everyone knew each other. Children played until dusk, and the Hendersons, David, Sarah, Emily, and Josh, fit right in. They were an ordinary family, living an ordinary life, until one night when they vanished without a trace. No warning, No explanation. Just gone. Their disappearance left only questions and a silence that still lingers. The house at number 12 stands untouched, a monument to a mystery. It looks inviting, but no one has lived there since that night in 1998. People hurry past, unwilling to meet its gaze. The house is a chilling reminder. A family here one day, gone the next. What happened to the Hendersons? The question echoes through the town. It's whispered in cafes, debated in living rooms, and told as a ghost story to frighten children. But for those who knew them, it's not a story, it's a wound. The loss is profound, the absence impossible to fill. The disappearance tore a hole in the fabric of the town. It was more than a missing persons case, it was a violation of the natural order. Families don't just disappear, not like this, but the Hendersons did. They stepped into a void, taking with them the town's sense of security. The safe, predictable world was shattered. They left behind a legacy of fear and a mystery that only deepens with time. The house remains, frozen in that moment, a silent witness to a night that changed everything. The story of the Hendersons is a question mark that haunts Maple Lane. It's a reminder that even in the safest places, the unthinkable can happen. The town's belief in safety never fully returned. The legend of the empty house endures, and the question, what happened, remains unanswered. The silence is unbroken, the mystery, unsolved, the house, still waiting, and the darkness still growing. Maple Lane will never be the same. October 27, 1998, a Tuesday like any other. David came home from work, waving to neighbors. Sarah trimmed roses in the garden, the kids played outside, laughter echoing. That evening, Sarah chatted with her sister about weekend plans. Nothing unusual, no hint of trouble. David helped the kids with homework. Sarah prepared dinner. It was the last anyone heard from them. Later, a delivery driver dropped off a parcel just after 9. Lights were on, TV murmured inside, but no one answered the door. He left the package, thinking nothing of it. The lights stayed on all night. Neighbors didn't notice, or didn't think it odd. In a quiet town, there was no reason to suspect anything. The world kept turning. But for the Hendersons, time stopped. Their ordinary Tuesday became their last. No one realized they were gone. The next morning, the house was silent. The family had vanished, leaving only questions behind. The last ordinary night slipped quietly into legend. The town would never be the same. The Hendersons' absence was total. The silence began. The mystery took root. The house waited, lights burning through the night. The world moved on, but the story had changed forever. The last meal was never eaten. The last words never remembered. The last laugh never heard again. The last night, ordinary, until it wasn't. The Hendersons disappeared, and the town's innocence vanished with them. The questions began to multiply. The answers never came. The last ordinary night became the first night of the unknown, and the house on Maple Lane became a legend. The silence was deafening. Wednesday arrived, but the Hendersons were gone. David missed work. Calls to the house went unanswered. Emily and Josh's seats at school were empty. No one panicked, maybe a family emergency, a sudden trip. But by Thursday, worry set in. Sarah's sister tried calling, then drove over. The car was in the driveway, the parcel still on the doorstep, newspapers uncollected. She peered through the window, TV flickering but no sign of life. Dread crept in. She called the police. Officers arrived for a welfare check. The back door was unlocked, not forced. They called out, no answer. Inside, the house was eerily normal. The shepherd's pie was cold in the oven, table set for 4. School bags on the floor, homework unfinished, beds made, clothes laid out for the next day, everything in its place except the family. It was as if they'd evaporated. No sign of struggle, no chaos, just silence. The house was a snapshot of interrupted life. The police found no evidence of violence, no clues, no answers. The family's belongings were untouched. The silence was overwhelming. The investigation began, but the mystery only deepened. The house became a symbol of absence. The town felt the weight of the unknown. The ordinary had become extraordinary. The silence was a presence in itself. The Hendersons were gone, leaving only questions. The house stood still, waiting. The world outside kept moving. But inside, time had stopped. The silence was absolute. The mystery had begun. The house was sealed off, the center of a massive investigation. Forensics scoured every inch, no fingerprints but the family's, no signs of struggle. The scene was pristine, almost unnaturally so. Detectives tried to reconstruct the family's last hours. They interviewed neighbors, friends, colleagues. No one had seen or heard anything unusual. The Hendersons had no enemies, no debts, no secrets anyone could find. Every lead went nowhere. The search expanded. Helicopters, search parties, rivers dragged, woods combed. Nothing, no evidence, no trace, no sign of the family. The house offered only stillness. The investigation defied logic. How could 4 people vanish from a locked house without a trace? The police were baffled. The town was shaken. The case became national news. The faces of the Hendersons were everywhere. Tips poured in, but all were dead ends. The trail was cold from the start. The house kept its secrets. The detectives grew frustrated. The community grew fearful. The mystery deepened. The investigation became a search for the impossible. The house on Maple Lane became a symbol of unanswered questions. The police could find no motive, no evidence, no closure. The family was simply gone. The search continued, but hope faded. The house remained silent. The mystery endured. The investigation had begun, but the answers never came. The silence persisted. The investigation stalled. The family's bank accounts and credit cards were untouched. Passports were still in the house. If they'd run away, they left everything behind. The theory made no sense. Foul play was considered, but there was no evidence, no ransom, no struggle, no witnesses. The house was undisturbed. Every detail was a dead end. The unlocked door, the uneaten meal, the silent TV, clues that led nowhere. The case file grew, but answers did not. The media called them the family that vanished, and the story captured the nation's imagination. Tips flooded in, but none led anywhere. Every sighting, every rumor, false alarms. The trail was never warm. The police were left with nothing. The family had disappeared without a trace. The town was left with only questions. The house remained a symbol of the unknown. The investigation faded, but the mystery endured. The Hendersons were gone, and no one knew why. The silence was unbroken. The case was unsolvable. The house stood as a reminder. The answer was lost. Years passed, and the frenzy faded. The case was never closed, but it became a cold file, dormant, gathering dust. Detectives retired, taking their questions with them. The family left behind lived in limbo, unable to mourn or move on. Every phone call, every knock brought hope and dread. The disappearance shattered many lives, not just 4. In town the memory faded, the house became a haunted legend. The tragedy softened into myth. Occasionally anniversaries or documentaries revived hope. But each time, nothing changed. The wall of silence held. The mystery remained. The years piled up, burying the truth deeper. The house waited, unchanged. In the absence of facts, theories flourished. Some whispered of criminal ties, others of witness protection or a secret escape. But the police found no evidence, no debts, no hidden lives. The family left everything behind. Darker theories emerged, cults, random violence, even the supernatural. The house was said to be cursed. Each theory was an attempt to fill the void, but every lead was a dead end. The case was a perfect circle, always returning to the empty house. No theory could be proven or dismissed. The possibilities remained endless. The mystery endured. The true horror is not in what's known, but in what isn't. There's no story, just a beginning, and then nothing. The void is terrifying. For the family's relatives, the uncertainty is torture. No graves, no closure, just endless not knowing. The mind craves answers, but the Henderson case offers none. No one ever came forward. No evidence ever surfaced. It's as if 4 people were erased from reality. The case challenges our belief that events leave traces. The disappearance left nothing. The questions remain. Where did they go? What happened? The darkness is absolute. Some doors, once closed, never open again. The mystery is the only certainty. The silence is eternal. Today, More than 27 years later, the story endures. The house on Maple Lane is still empty, a monument to loss. The mystery haunts the town, a reminder of life's fragility. If it happened to the Hendersons, it could happen to anyone. The sense of safety is gone. For those who remember, the loss is sharp. Friends and family keep their memory alive, hoping for answers. They hold on to hope, because it's all they have. The story ends where it began, with an empty house and a question. What happened to the Henderson family? The answer is lost to time. The case is cold, but the mystery is alive. It breathes in quiet moments, whispers on the wind. A haunting legacy of 4 people who vanished into a question mark. The darkness never lifts. The silence remains. There it stands, at the end of Elderberry Lane, number 17. A 2-story brick house, garden wild with weeds. But this house is different. It holds a secret. Its windows are dark, the paint peeling, a silent witness to something unspeakable. The last known home of the Harrington family. For 50 years, it's kept its silence. Neighbors avoid talking about it, but everyone remembers. Children dare each other to touch the rusty gate, but few do. There's a chill in the air around number 17. A story with no ending. The house remembers the laughter, the warmth, the life that once filled its rooms. Arthur and Eleanor Harrington, with their children Thomas and Lily, were ordinary in every way. Friends, routines, plans for the future. Until one night, it all stopped. The house is a monument to a question never answered. What happened inside those walls in 1977? Did they see something, know something, or was it something stranger? The questions hang in the air, thick as dust in the moonlight. This house isn't just a building, it's the epicenter of a mystery, a place where a family's story ended without explanation. It stands today, brooding and silent, a testament to the day the world forgot the Harringtons. The silence is heavy, almost alive. It waits, as if expecting someone to finally listen. But for now, it remains a puzzle, locked tight. And so, the house endures, holding its secret close. It was a Tuesday, October 4th, 1977, the day before everything was normal. Arthur went to work at the bank, Eleanor took the kids to school, gardened, waved to neighbors, Thomas had football, Lily had piano. That evening, lights glowed in the Harrington house. A neighbor saw their silhouettes, the flicker of the TV. No shouting, no strange noises, just another quiet night. The Harringtons were home, safe, or so it seemed. As night fell, the street grew quiet, lights went out, one by one. Inside number 17, the TV was switched off, the lights extinguished. Presumably, the family went to bed, ready for another day. They drifted off, unaware it was their last night at home. By morning, they would be gone, vanished as if they'd never existed. What were their final thoughts? Did Eleanor remind Arthur to set the alarm? Did Thomas dream of football? Did Lily hum her piano tune? These details are lost forever. The final, mundane moments of a life about to become anything but. October 3rd was the end of the Harringtons' recorded history. The next sunrise would reveal their absence. No one knows why. The world moved on, but the question remained. How does a family disappear without a trace? The answer, if there is one, is still out there. The first sign was subtle. The milk, 2 bottles untouched on the step. The milkman, George, found it odd. Eleanor was always prompt, but not that Tuesday. George shrugged and moved on, unaware he was the first to notice something wrong. Later the school called. Thomas and Lily hadn't arrived. The secretary phoned the house. No answer. Unusual for Eleanor, she tried again. Still, nothing. A small seed of concern was planted. The real alarm came when Arthur didn't show at the bank. He was never late. Colleagues called home. Silence. Mr. Abernathy, his boss, drove to Elderberry Lane. He saw the milk, the newspaper, knocked on the door. No response. He peered through the window, curtains drawn, unease growing. Something was wrong. He asked a neighbor to call the police. The mystery had begun. The house was locked, still, and silent. No one answered. No one came to the door. The ordinary had become ominous. The Harringtons had vanished. The town would never be the same. The unanswered door marked the start of a story no one could finish. The silence was absolute, and it would only deepen. Police arrived to find the house locked, no signs of forced entry. They forced the back door, stepping into a house that felt suspended in time. No crime scene, just eerie normalcy. The kitchen table was half set for breakfast, bowls and cereal waiting. Eleanor's handbag sat on the table, purse and keys inside. Upstairs beds were made, pajamas folded, school uniforms laid out. The car was in the garage, keys on the hook, passports, clothes, toothbrushes, all untouched. It looked as if the family had simply vanished overnight. No note, no struggle, no sign they planned to leave. Investigators searched every inch. Nothing. No clues, no messages, no evidence of foul play. 4 people, gone without a trace. The scene was so ordinary, it became terrifying. How could a family disappear from a locked house? The house became a perfectly preserved enigma. The police were left with only questions. The silence inside was overwhelming. The mystery had only deepened. The investigation exploded into a massive search. Officers combed the countryside, searched woods, rivers, abandoned buildings. Nothing, no clues, no evidence, no sign of the Harringtons. Detectives interviewed everyone, friends, neighbors, teachers. The family was happy, stable, unremarkable. No enemies, no debts, no secrets. The more they learned, the less sense it made. The media descended, turning the case into national news. The Harringtons' faces were everywhere, smiling, now tinged with sadness. Pressure mounted, but no leads emerged. Weeks became months. Every tip was a dead end. Psychics, hoaxes, wild theories. Nothing panned out. The case file grew, but the mystery only deepened. The search slowed, then stopped. The media moved on, but the town could not. The silence of the Harringtons became a wound that would not heal. In the absence of answers, rumors grew. Theories spread. Maybe Arthur fled with his family, maybe something darker happened, but why leave everything behind? Suspicion crept in. Neighbors eyed each other warily. The man who saw their silhouettes was questioned again and again. He saw nothing unusual. The story became legend, a ghost story for children. Some claimed to see lights in the empty house, or hear laughter on the wind, but these were just stories, filling the void left by the truth. The real terror was the emptiness. A family gone, no explanation. The whispers became part of the town's fabric, a scar that never healed. The mystery bound the community, but also divided it. Anyone could be a suspect. No theory could be disproven. The town was left in perpetual suspense, forever wondering. History records events, but what about those with no ending? The Harringtons' disappearance became a blank page in the record. The facts were noted, names, dates, address, the scene, but the why and how remained empty. The case was reviewed over the years, new detectives hoping for a breakthrough. Technology advanced, but no new clues emerged. The house, the car, clean. No evidence, no leads. The file became a cautionary tale, a perfect crime, if it was a crime at all. The official record is incomplete. A family vanished, a search failed, no conclusion. History can tell you they disappeared, but not where they went. The story is frozen on its first chapter. For the record, the Harringtons simply stepped out of existence on October 4, 1977. Only a question mark remains. 50 years have passed, the town has changed, but the silence remains. No breakthroughs, no confessions, no remains. The Harringtons' parents died without answers. Friends grew old, memories faded. The case outlived almost everyone involved. It became folklore, detached from the real people it once was about. The house at number 17 still stands, preserved in decay. Too notorious to sell, too significant to destroy. Occasionally journalists visit, but they leave with nothing. Just emptiness. Time should bring answers, but here, it only deepened the mystery. The hope for truth has dwindled. It seems the secret vanished with the family. Silence is the only answer. So, where does that leave us? We're left with a ghost story, a house frozen in time, a breakfast table set for a meal never eaten, the faces of a smiling family, forever trapped in a moment before everything changed. The lack of answers haunts us. We crave closure, but the Harrington case offers none. A family vanished from a locked house, no witnesses, no motive, no evidence. The void where a story should be is what draws us in. Could they have been taken? Did they choose to leave? Every theory dissolves into impossibility. We're left with only the admission: we don't know. perhaps we never will. Their story is a reminder, not all mysteries are solved, some stories just stop, leaving us uneasy. The house on Elderberry Lane stands as a monument to that uncertainty, a monument to the family that vanished, and the question that will linger forever.